Good evening, guys. Let me set up for B and I will be right with you. Give me a few to set up for this show. Okay, let me back up some. Okay, discussion B. the title is Chronic Illness Impacts Families and Coping Strategies. Okay, main themes. Family as a system. Systematic therapists view the family as an interconnected unit. When one person falls ill, the emotional and practical efforts ripple through effects ripple through everyone. Illness timeline perspective psychiatrics psychiatrist John Rowland suggests framing illness within a timeline from diagnosis to management to help families make sense of their journey. Grief and adjustment. Understanding one's role within the family unit may ease grief and emotional turmoil. Okay, factors that shape coping. Openness versus isolation. Families that are open to outside support tend to cope better, while more private families may struggle with isolation and secrecy. Type of illness matters. Chronic but stable. Conditions like cystic fibrosis or asthma can disrupt daily life with flare-ups. Okay, progressive and degenerative diseases like Parkinson's, Huntington's disease, or dementia worsen over time and deeply affect long-term caregiving. Unpredictable illnesses. Cancer or kidney failure may create cycles of hope and despair with regular medical interventions impacting family life. Final takeaway: every diagnosis influences not just the patient but their entire support system. Recognizing and navigating this shared experience is crucial for emotional resilience. If you'd like, I can help translate these ideas into caregiving framework or emotional support guide tailored to chronic illnesses in memory friendly or frailty aware settings. Would that be useful for you? Families facing chronic illness can build more resilient coping strategies by nurturing communication, shared responsibility, and external support systems. Here's a breakdown of practical approaches inspired by systematic therapy, illness trajectory insights, and real world caregiving dynamics. Frameworks for stronger coping: establish open dialogue, encourage regular, honest conversations that include all family members, even children. Transparency creates trust and helps manage expectations. Adopt the illness timeline lens, viewing the experience as a journey. Diagnosis, treatment, adaptation can help families pace their emotional energy and avoid burnout. Use visual timelines or care maps to chart major milestones and transitions. Rebalance roles thoughtfully. Illness often reshuffles responsibilities. Families benefit from clear discussions about who's taking on what, from emotional support to managing medications to avoid resentment or overload. Normalize grief and emotional shifts. Feeling loss, even anticipatory grief, is natural. Creating space for all emotions, including anger or helplessness, helps families process them instead of suppressing them. Practical strategies that work: engage external help. Open families who seek community support, counseling, or respite care tend to cope more effectively, connecting with others. Navigating similar illnesses fosters validation and shared wisdom. Okay, introduce rituals of resilience, weekly family check-ins, gratitude practices, or storytelling can strengthen bonds and create a sense of stability, support the caregiver's needs. Primary caregivers are often overlooked. Encouraging self care, peer support, and scheduled breaks can be transformative for long term sustainability. Tailor to the illness type. Progressive conditions may require long term planning, while unpredictable ones like cancer need flexibility and adaptive optimism. Understanding the nature of the illness prepares families to manage hope and despair and practical care. Would it help if we shape this into a family care protocol tailored to memory friendly or frailty aware anticipatory grief? The mourning that begins before a loved one passes is a deeply human response to the unfolding reality of loss. Families navigating this space can find steadiness through a combination of emotional literacy and uh, realizational rituals and adaptive support strategies. Here's how. Core coping approaches. Name the experience. Recognize anticipatory grief for what it is. Helps normalize it. Not is not morbid or premature. It's a compassionate response to slowly losing someone while still being present with them. Create moments of meaning instead of avoiding the reality. Families can lean into it by creating meaningful interactions, storytelling, music, art, making, or simply holding space for shared silence. Allow for emotional ambivalence. It's okay to feel gratitude and despair in the same breath. Encouraging emotional range without judgment can reduce guilt and foster healing. Supportive practices, structured family conversations. Gently facilitate discussions, possibly with a counselor or death doula, can help families voice hopes, regrets, and fears. These dialogues support emotional alignment and reduce unspoken tension. Memory projects, scrapbooks, video diaries, or shared legacy letters allow loved ones to co create a narrative bridging present connection and future remembrance. ritualized check-ins, weekly emotional check-ins, or mindfulness-based rituals offer continuity and grounding. They can be as simple as lighting a candle together or sharing one rose and thorn from this week. Engage external communities. Peer group, peer, peer, peer grief groups, faith communities, or online forums help families remember they're not alone, that solidarity can be quietly transformative. Would you like to explore how these strategies could be adapted for memory friendly or frailty aware environments? We could co design a care map or caregiver support tool that and that blends anticipatory grief, literacy, and holistic care planning. Absolutely. Emotional ambivalence in grief refers to the experience of feeling uh, conflicting emotions simultaneously, such as love and resentment, hope and despair, or deep connection alongside a desire for distance. It's incredibly common, especially in prolonged or anticipatory grief, and acknowledging it can be healing. What emotional ambivalence looks like: mixed emotions towards the loved one. A caregiver might feel deep compassion and frustration, especially if the illness has changed the person's personality or created dependency. Hope for recovery versus fear of decline. Families often swing between optimism for treatment and dread of deterioration. Both can coexist, and neither invalidates the other. Relief and guilt. Feeling relief when suffering lessons or caregiving pressure lessons or caregiving pressures ease can be met with guilt, but both are valid emotional responses in complex caregiving landscapes. Why it matters: suppressing ambivalence can lead to emotional burnout, especially in roles where empathy is expected to be consistent. When families allow emotional nonsense, they create space for deeper uh, authenticity and connection. You might find this especially relevant in memory-friendly or frailty-aware care models, where shifts in identity and function are gradual and emotionally layered. Would you like to explore how these ambivalent states could be acknowledged and get this, supported within caregiver training or shared decision-making protocols? Certainly, emotional ambivalence in grief often reveals itself in unexpected layered moments. Here are some nonsensed examples across caregiving, family dynamics, and end-of-life settings that might resonate with your work in frailty-aware and memory-friendly care models. Real-world examples of emotional ambivalence. Caregiver grief and guilt. A spouse caring for a partner with advanced dementia may feel relief when their partner is admitted for full-time care. Only to be flooded with guilt or not being able to do more. Love and frustration. An adult child might deeply love their aging parent but feel irritated by repeated memory lapses or resistance to care, especially when these moments interrupt daily routines. Hope and dread. In families facing unpredictable illnesses like cancer, optimism for treatment success may coexist with fear of relapse, planning a future vacation while quietly wondering if their loved one will still be well enough is an example of this tension. Connection and distance. Give me 1 second, guys. A caregiver may crave intimacy and closeness, but also feel emotionally withdrawn after years of watching a loved one slowly decline. That pushes and pulls dynamic is common, especially in long-term care relationships. Anticipatory peace and sadness. Sitting at a bedside and recognizing the person sitting at a bedside and recognizing the person is nearing death can bring both serenity, no more suffering, and deep sorrow. These two emotions aren't manually exclusive. aren't mutually exclusive. Emotional ambivalence is especially present in slow loss contexts like neurodegenerative diseases, where identity evolves over time. Acknowledging this ambivalence in caregiver support frameworks can reduce morale, injury, and promote emotional resilience. Would you like to sketch out a grief literacy module for caregivers that builds on this theme? It could be, it could be, or it could integrate emotional mapping techniques and culturally sensitive storytelling rituals settings. I'd love to build something grounded in your interdisciplinary lens. Certainly, emotional ambivalence in grief is rich with psychological complexity. It touches identity, attachment, theory, moral cognition, and the neurobiology of emotional regulation. Let's unpack it from several angles. Psychological dimensions of emotional ambivalence. Attachment and role disruption. In caregiving contexts, especially in memory friendly or frailty aware settings, shifting roles can create inner conflict. A, a secure attachment may prompt devotion, while sudden dependency or behavioral changes, like in dementia, challenge one's in internal narrative of the loved one. This dissonance fuels ambivalence, cognitive dis- dishonest. Caregivers often hold two opposing truths. I miss them and I need space. Psychological discomfort arises when these truths contradict deeply held values. Loyalty, resilience, navigating this dishonest is central to meaning making, identity fragmentation. Okay, give me 1 second, guys. I'll get the rest of this for you. Identity fragmentation. Loss disrupts one's self one's self concept. Who am I if I'm no longer a daughter, a spouse, or a caregiver? Emotional ambivalence signals a transitional identity space where roles and values are renegotiated. Moral, morale, emotional activation. Emotions like guilt, shame, or righteous anger are often triggered by unmet expectations or perceived failures. These expectations or perceived failures, these occur with love, gratitude, or hope, and adding layers of ambivalence. A caregiver might feel guilt for wishing a loved one's suffering would end, even as they provide tender care. Neurobiological regulation. The brain's limbic system handles both distress and reward. In prolonged grief, amygdala hyperactivation linked to linked to three link, linked to threat might exist alongside activation of oxytocin. Pathways, bonding, and caregiving, creating stimulus simultaneous emotional poles. Adaptive function and ambivalence. Far from being a pathology, ambivalence can reflect psychological growth. It fosters flexibility, the ability to tolerate complex emotional states, builds resilience, depth of connection. When grief includes both joy and sorrow, the relationship's richness is fully honored. Personal meaning, uh, grass, grappling with conflicting emotions encourages uh, intro introspection and values clarification. Would you like to co-design an emotional mapping tool or workshop framework for? Let me get it. Caregivers that transforms ambivalence into insight. It could integrate systems, neuroscience with values based narratives, reflection right in your wheelhouse. Okay, guys, so that is B for you. I will be back on with C later today. So, for now, Gator Wellness, take care, folks. Be back on with C later.